Okay, today we're looking at a new segment that was suggested to me by one of my viewers. I'll be looking at fan art or fan comic content from the My Little Pony fandom. With that being said, I'm looking at the first person who gave me permission to look at their art. The art from the Lutz Analyst and Amber channel. Lutz and Amber are two bronies who analyze My Little Pony episodes, while Lutz draws his fan art on the screen that it eventually becomes the thumbnail, and it also helps highlight the theme of the episode that they're talking about. He and Amber go back and forth and sort of joke around, and we see him drawing, and his drawings end up on DeviantArt. So everything that is on his channel is pictures for the thumbnails of his videos. The ones that we see drawn during the episode appearing in their finished state, which we don't always get to enjoy when they're reviewing and the drawing during the video is only in the process of being drawn. That being said, these are more YouTube thumbnail pictures and less story driven, and each and every one of them goes back to an episode from the series, with maybe a few exceptions. Next we have Flutterbat hugging a giant apple to commemorate the episode Bats. I love the way Fluttershy is just sort of clinging on to this giant apple, kind of as if to claim it as her apple, and she's sort of giving this look like she doesn't want anyone else to get near this apple, and she's going to enjoy it all to herself. Next we see Rarity with the thread, the giant rainbow thread given to her by Coco Pommel. That was part of her key episode. That would eventually become Rarity's key to open the secret box. Rarity's leaning up against that spool and she's juggling some gems. I kind of like it. It says what was important about this episode, and it's instantly recognizable as Rarity Takes Manhattan. Next we have the image for Simple Ways. Rarity as her country self and Applejack as Apple Jewel as they stand around a gigantic straw hat with Rarity looking rather pissed and Applejack just laughing and looking super amused. This is a more complicated picture as it's not just one character. It's two characters and a very large prop object. At no time in the episode was the hat ever this huge. It's a great exaggeration, and it's just the most iconic moment in that particular episode. And I love how unhappy Rarity seems and how extremely happy Applejack seems at this particular moment. That hat is so huge, it's almost like there's some kind of giant table at a restaurant. Next, we get a little bit more complicated. We actually have a background to this, a nice little blue background, and Luna's face in the moon, as Rarity and Sweetie Belle sit on top of a giant gem-studded blanket. This, of course, from whom the Sweetie Belle toils. Actually, it looks like that blanket is, in fact, the eye from the headdress. If I'm not mistaken, it seems to be a very subtle and clever reference, because I don't recall a blanket being in the episode, but the headdress was a major part of it, but we're only seeing the major part of the headdress that was the huge deal. that eye that got changed from how Rarity had it to eventually having the dolphin. Rarity and Sweetie Belle seem to be smiling at each other, and it's just a very adorable picture. Then we have another one of my favorites, this Applejack leaning against the giant bit. The picture that accompanies, oh geez, what the heck in the doodle was it called? Well, whatever, my brain isn't remembering episode titles at the moment. But yeah, there's the tea again. Like before, the tea is absolutely huge, and Applejack is just leaning on that. And boy, I wish we had a coin in real life that was that massive, because that would be a lot of gold and a lot of wealth for whoever owned it. Although it would be kind of hard to spend at the bank, having to lug that giant coin around, and then how would you put that in the bank and then receive change from it? Does that count as the millions of dollars of gold that went into molding that, or does that count as one bit? But I love Applejack with her hoof up on her hat, holding it up. She's looking at us, smiling. She's sort of sitting back. She looks relaxed. She looks happy. And there's even a bit of a background on this one, which is a nice little touch. Then we get Rainbow Dash and Twilight from Testing 1, 2, 3. Rainbow Dash looking bored out of her mind as she sits on the now iconic stool, and Twilight looking like the strict teacher type, with her hoof on her hip and the other hoof sort of gesturing towards Rainbow Dash, who could really care less about what's going on as she rocks back and forth. Even Twilight's expression seems like that of a stern teacher. I absolutely love the choice of background, the giant chalkboard, with the lines kind of drawn perfectly to look like they were hoof-drawn by chalk, as opposed to being a perfect straight line like the kind you'd put into your computer. This is an intentional wavy line. It definitely looks like it was drawn as opposed to clicked and dragged. Next episode is from Tradia. It's the Fluttershy and Rainbow Dash with the giant bear whistle. And in Rainbow Dash's hoof is the little bird whistle that Fluttershy had been wanting. Rainbow Dash is sort of leaning on the bear whistle, looking proud at herself, being really happy to have gotten this bird whistle for Fluttershy, and she seems pretty content as well. The thing that really catches my attention and draws my eyes to it is the bear whistle. It seems to be the central focus of the entire picture. I don't really see Fluttershy and Rainbow Dash right away. My eyes just keep looking right at this bear whistle. Next we have a really great one of the main six in their rainbow forms with the box keys. This is the kind of thing that a person would use as a desktop wallpaper. It just seems like that sort of image. I can imagine someone downloading this and looking at it every time they open their laptop or turn on their computer, and keeping it on their computer for weeks, maybe even months, maybe even all year. It seems like that kind of thing that you want to cover with icons and look at every day, all day, and just sort of enjoy it. Next we have an OC of some kind. He pops up twice, once as a pony and once as a human. Seems to be some kind of wine drinker. Berry punches in the background to emphasize this. She appears to be getting drunk, tipsy while tipping over, reaching for a bottle that's being held up by magic. We can see from this particular angle something unique for My Little Pony. We have a cutie mark on each side of the flank as opposed to only on one side or the other. A lot of times we forget that the cutie mark is supposed to be on both sides of the flank, and we tend to place it on either just the left or just the right. This is a very rare example of getting to see the cutie mark from both sides. I'm pretty sure we have seen the dual-sided cutie mark fin in canon on the series, but I can't quite recall where or when. The next time we see this character, he's sort of leaning against an unseen wall, holding a glass and looking kind of serious. I've kind of liked his human form a bit more than his pony form, but the pony form of Berry Punch is the more interesting story because there's a lot more going on here. And we have this sort of half-breed of Discord and Twilight, almost as if Discord and Twilight merged into a single being. Or perhaps Discord or Twilight used magic to gain each other's parts. Or maybe they had a relationship and this is their child somehow. Either way, it's an interesting idea considering that most people ship Discord with Fluttershy or Celestia. This is a unique idea, and it definitely tells an interesting story that I want to learn more about. And we have Trixie doing a very epic pose, sort of standing on two hooves, pointing, smiling. She looks very happy. It's a very great picture of Trixie. Very powerful picture of Trixie. A very great and powerful picture of Trixie. I actually like this. This is probably one of my favorites in quite a few pictures, and maybe even my favorite for the season so far. Normally when you see Trixie, she's sort of got that antagonistic look on her face, very smug, very angry. This is a very happy Trixie, and it's a refreshing change from what we normally get from her. Then we got Rarity in her boutique from Saddle Row Review. This is one of the more complicated pictures, and it tells much more of a story than any of the others. It has a complete background. There's a box in the corner. That's a great extra detail. Most people wouldn't think to include things like a box in the corner. The other side has the mannequin with the hat and the clothing being placed on it. Rarity's in the middle of decorating the mannequin. Her mind is clearly on her work. I really like this one. It seems to have the most in it, the most details, the most attention to what's going on, the most effort, I think. It really has a lot going on, with everything before now just being one or two characters with maybe one prop and seldom any backgrounds at all. It's nice to have all of the backgrounds and extra details thrown in. It seems like that perfect little candid shot. If I was taking a photograph, this is what I would take. The character's not posed and looking at us. The character is in the middle of doing her job, and she's paying attention to her job. And then the final thing that we have up for now, because the Linked Pony hasn't been uploaded to DeviantArt yet, although I really did like the Linked Pony, is Applejack in her tool belt from Applejack's Day Off. I really liked the way Applejack looks in the tool belt with the safety goggles and the belt standing up on two legs and the tools in there. I've always loved that pose, even though I didn't love the episode. Anyhow, until next time, thank you for watching and good night.